Hello and welcome to the Cardboard Dungeons X-Wing Ship Reviews. My name is Pat, and in this video I'm looking at the Lando's Falcon expansion for X-Wing Second Edition. Now this is the only brand new ship in Wave 1 of X-Wing Second Edition to be released. So I figured we would kick off our Second Edition reviews with this new one. The ship, of course, comes from the movie Solo. It is the brand new, nicely painted and detailed Millennium Falcon belonging to Lando Calrissian that was seen in that movie. So looking at the model, it is very nice. If you're wondering, the escape craft at the nose does detach, and it is its own ship, so you get two ships in this expansion. And I have to give credit to Fantasy Flight. They did a great job with the seamless attachment of this escape craft. When it's attached to the Falcon, you really can't see the seams at all. It pops off and goes back on real easy. So kudos to the team for the design work on that. Lando's Falcon, of course, is a scum and villainy ship. It is a large base ship, and it has the double turret arc, which means that it has a rotating arc that makes your firing arcs either forward and rear or side to side. The 360 primary turret arcs from X-Wing First Edition are a thing of the past, and the designers have said they're not coming back. So you still have a wide range of fire. You can fire from two arcs at any given time, and you can rotate them via an action. All right, let's jump into the maneuver dials for the two ships in this expansion. We'll start with the customized YT-1300 Light Freighter, the official name for the Millennium Falcon, this version of it at least. So looking at the maneuver dial, at speed 1, we've got blue straight and blue banks. At speed 2, we've got a blue straight, white banks, and white turns. At speed 3, we've got a blue straight, white banks, white turns, and the red Segnor's loop. And at speed 4, we've got the straight, which is white, and then a red K-turn. So it's still a very good dial. The Millennium Falcon has lost the speed 1 white turns that it had in First Edition X-Wing, which was an amazing maneuver option for a large base ship. So it is going to miss that a bit, but it does have a very open dial, and especially the addition of Segnor's loops to give it those banking turnaround maneuvers in addition to the K-turn. Now looking at the escape crafts dial, we've got the speed 0 stationary, which is red, so you can hold in place and not move and take a stress. At speed 1, we've got a blue straight and blue banks. Speed 2 has a blue straight, white banks, and red turns. And at speed 3, we've got a white straight, we've got white banks, and a red K-turn. So not a very fast ship, not super maneuverable, has a hard time turning. The only turns it's got are red at speed 2. But for what it is, looking at the ship, you wouldn't expect it to be highly maneuverable or particularly fast. Now moving on to the ship cards, we'll start with the YT-1300. Taking a look at the stat line, we can see that it's got an attack value of 2 with that double turret arc, agility of 1, 8 hull, and 3 shields. On the action bar, we've got focus for most of the pilots. Now, new to Second Edition, any pilot that is a droid is going to have the new calculate action instead of focus. Calculate is kind of like a downgraded focus, lets you change one focus result instead of all of them. We've got lock, we've got a red boost, which is really good, and then we've got the rotate action, which is how you can move your firing arcs. Now, in Second Edition X-Wing, the point costs for the pilots and the upgrade bars are no longer on the cards themselves. Since it's difficult to do any kind of a review or talk about opinions on ships without talking about those things, I'm going to be including them in the reviews that I do. Just keep in mind that Fantasy Flight is going to be using the X-Wing Second Edition app that will be available when the Second Edition game releases in September to occasionally change point costs and change what upgrades ships can take based on how well or how poorly the ships are faring on the competitive scene. So just keep that in mind when I'm talking about that, depending on when you're watching this video. Point costs might have changed, upgrade slots might have changed. I will try to put out videos as they do make those updates to the game to let you guys know what has changed. But for right now, we'll talk about the upgrades currently available to this ship, which are 1 missile, 2 crew, 1 gunner, an illicit, a modification, and a title. And the 2 top pilots, Han and Lando, also have a talent upgrade slot. Now looking at the pilots, Han Solo is the top pilot for this ship with an initiative of 6 and 54-point cost. His ability lets him add an additional die when he's attacking or defending if the attack is obstructed by an obstacle. So that's really good, especially with this ship's low attack value of 2. Han wants to fly around rocks and debris fields, which is very thematic. So if you can line up your shots or stay behind asteroids when you're being shot at, he's going to get an extra die. Next up, we got Lando Calrissian, 49 points. After Lando rolls dice and is not stressed, he can take a stress token and re-roll all blank results. So in X-Wing Second Edition, getting fully modified dice rolls is pretty difficult, not as easy as it was in First Edition. So anything that lets you re-roll or change dice faces, modify your dice in any way, is really good in Second Edition. Next, we've got L337, initiative value of 2 and a cost of 47 points. And L3, of course, is a droid, so she does have that calculate action instead of focus. And her ability decreases the difficulty of your banks when you have lost all your shields. All right, lastly, we've got a non-unique pilot, the freighter captain, 46 points. Now looking at the escape craft, the stat line for this ship is a front-facing firing arc with an attack value of 2, 2 agility, 2 hull, and 2 shields. And we've got the focus, barrel roll, and a red coordinate action. This ship also has a ship ability. 3 of the pilots have the co-pilot ability, which is while you are docked, your carrier ship has your pilot ability in addition to its own. So adding this ship to the Falcon is kind of like also adding an additional crew, and you're going to get the benefit of 2 pilot abilities instead of just the one on the main ship, which is a really neat idea, and I do like this a lot. Now there are 4 pilots. The 4th pilot has a different ship ability. We'll talk about that when I get down to him. The upgrade bar for this ship, the first 3 pilots, all the human pilots, have a talent, a crew, and a modification. And the 4th pilot has no upgrade slots, and you'll see why once we get over to him. So starting with the top pilot for the escape craft, it's Lando Calrissian, initiative of 4, costing 26 points, and Lando has the same ability as he does when he's piloting the Falcon. Next, we've got the Outer Rim Pioneer, a unique pilot, even though he doesn't have a name. Initiative value of 3 and costs 24 points. His ability is friendly ships at range 0 to 1 can perform attacks at range 0 of obstacles. So he'll let friendly ships, which includes himself, because range 0 is now the range that your ship is to itself. And it can still make attacks if you're sitting on an obstacle. Next pilot is L337, initiative of 2, and she costs 22 points. Same ability as when she is piloting the Falcon, decreasing the difficulty of bank maneuvers when no shields are left. And of course, she does have the calculate action in place of focus. And finally, we've got the autopilot drone with an initiative of 1 and a cost of 12 points. No pilot ability for this one. And it's not a human pilot, it's a drone, so it's got calculate in place of focus. But the ship ability on this one is rigged energy cells. It says during the system phase, if you are not docked, lose 1 charge. At the end of the activation phase, if you have 0 charges, you are destroyed. Before you are removed, each ship at range 0 to 1 suffers 1 critical damage. So it's a kamikaze ship. You want to fly it out, get it close to enemy ships, and get it destroyed or run out of charges. So it blows up and damages all of those ships. And since Scum and Villainy, we know, have a couple ways to damage their own ships, you can even open fire on it if it's not quite ready to blow up on its own, and destroy it prematurely if it's in position to cause some damage. So it's a pretty neat idea, very thematic to the movie. All right, looking at the upgrade cards you get, we're going to start with Composure, which is a talent. It requires that your ship has focus, so droid pilots will not be able to use this. And it says after you fail an action, if you have no green tokens, you may perform a focus action. This is kind of a training wheels ability for newer players. New to second edition X-Wing, they do have the mechanic where if you declare an action but then are unable to carry it out, you can't take a different action like you could in first edition X-Wing. So if you declare a target lock but then you find out you're out of range, it's simply a failed action and you don't get anything else. So if you have this talent, you're going to be able to always at least get a focus. Next we've got Intimidation, another talent upgrade, and it costs 3 points. When an enemy ship at range 0 defends, it rolls 1 fewer defense die. So this is a great ability for Captain Oiken in the Decimator on the Imperial side, who wants to run into people and can still shoot at them. But since we're talking about Scum and Villainy here, this also works. You put it on any ship, fly into an enemy ship, and then your squad mates that shoot at it are going to gain that advantage as well of the defender rolling 1 fewer defense die. Next we've got Chewbacca. He's a unique crew, Scum only. At the start of the end phase, you may spend 1 focus token to repair one of your face-up damage cards. That's very cool. Chewbacca costs 4 points. So repairing in this game, you can just flip it face down. And a lot of these, the critical hit cards in the game require an action to do that. So with Chewbacca, you just need a focus token to be able to do it. L337 is a unique Scum-only crew with a cost of 4 points. This is a very interesting card too. It's a double-sided card, so we still have the dual card idea, although you don't get to choose which side it starts on. So in the setup phase, you always equip it with the crew side face up. And her ability says, while you defend, you may flip this card. If you do, the attacker must re-roll all attack dice. So that's really cool. A one-time use forced re-roll on the opponent if they get a really good roll. You can just make them re-roll all their dice. And then when you flip the card over, it becomes a configuration type upgrade. L337's programming. And it gives you her pilot ability that we've seen before. So you've got a few different ways to get the blue bank maneuvers when you run out of shields. And of course, this card is super thematic to the movie if you've seen Solo. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. But a very cool idea that you've got a crew that turns into a configuration for the ship after using its ability. Lando Calrissian is a 8-point Scum-only crew upgrade. After you roll dice, you may spend 1 green token to re-roll up to 2 of your results. So really good ability there. Pairs especially well with the Perceptive Co-Pilot. That is a crew that gives you an extra focus token when you take a focus action. So you can get pretty much fully modded rolls. Tobias Beckett is a Scum-only crew. His ability works in the setup phase. We've seen some of that previously in X-Wing, so that's carrying into second edition as well, and it's kind of interesting. He costs 2 points. And after you place your forces, you can choose an obstacle in the play area. If you do, you place it anywhere in the play area beyond range 2 of any board edge or ship, and beyond range 1 of other obstacles. So it lets you reposition an obstacle during the setup phase. It's kind of interesting. I'm not sure what the real intended purpose is for that. We do have a bomb that lets you destroy obstacles, so you could put an asteroid in a good position to make that work for you. Kira is a Scum-only crew, costing 2 points, and her ability lets you ignore obstacles that you have locked while you move and perform attacks. So another new feature in X-Wing Second Edition is you can lock onto obstacles. Seasoned Navigator is a crew upgrade. After you reveal your dial, you may set your dial to another non-red maneuver of the same speed. While you execute that maneuver, increase its difficulty. So a really good ability. We can see why it's a little pricier than some of the other ones. You reveal your dial, and then if you chose poorly, you can switch it to another one and then up the difficulty from blue to white or white to red. Now getting into the gunner upgrades, a new upgrade type for 2nd edition. Han Solo is scum only. Before you engage, you may perform a red focus action. So another way to get fully modded shots, you take a lock action during your turn, and then when you go to make an attack, Han can give you a focus token as well. And Han costs 4 points. Agile Gunner is a gunner upgrade that costs 10 points. And it says, during the end phase, you may rotate your turret indicator. This is basically the ability that the Lancer Pursuit Craft had in 1st edition if you put a certain upgrade on it. And being able to rotate your arc without using the rotate action is very good. By the end phase, you probably have a good idea of where enemy ships are going to be during the next round, and you can set your turret accordingly. Rigged Cargo Chute is an illicit upgrade usable by medium or large ships with a cost of 4 points. It comes with 1 charge token, and as an action you can spend that charge to drop the loose cargo token using the Speed 1 template. Drops out behind your ship like a bomb and it creates a big debris field. So it pairs really nicely with Han Solo's pilot ability. You can drop that out when you have an enemy ship behind you and then take shots with extra dice through that debris field. Tactical Scrambler costs 2 points. It's a modification for medium or large ships only. And when you are obstructing an enemy ship's attack, the defender gets an additional die. And finally, we've got the Lando's Millennium Falcon title, which is, of course, scum and customized YT1300 only, and it costs 6 points. And this title is what you're going to need to enable the escape craft to pair up with the Millennium Falcon. So what it does is it lets an escape craft dock with you, and while you have an escape craft docked, you can spend its shields as if they were on your ship, which is neat. So it's going to add 2 shields to the Millennium Falcon while docked up. And while you perform a primary attack against a stressed ship, you can roll an additional attack die. So we're seeing that there are ways in this expansion to get around that attack value of 2. So Han's ability paired with this is going to let him roll 4 dice if he's shooting through an obstacle at a ship that is stressed. So you've got some good tools to roll out additional attack dice. And of course, using the extra shields from the escape craft, especially if you're using that unmanned drone that wants to blow up, you can strip its shield before you launch it out, making it easier to destroy and then explode when it is near enemy ships. Alright, so that is Lando's Millennium Falcon expansion, X-Wing Second Edition. Really cool expansion. It adds a lot of nice options to the Scum and Villainy faction. I think it's really cool. Now we can have pilots like Lando and Han flying alongside Boba Fett. You can put Han Gunner on the Slave 1. So some pretty neat combos and stuff coming out of this expansion. It's also pretty inexpensive, especially when you compare it to the Rebel Falcon. It's running at about, so this is going to let you get a lot of bang for the buck based on how you outfit it and giving you more options for other ships you can put into your Scum Millennium Falcon squadron. Alright, as always, thank you for watching the Cardboard Dungeon, and we'll see you next time.